Los Angeles Chargers and Cleveland Browns, a game I think is very, very interesting. The way that this has come, was sitting 3, then went to 2.5, then went to 2. There are some 1.5s now out there in favor of the Chargers. The Browns, we know, have been a weirdly efficient offense so far with Jacoby Brissett at the helm. 47.5 is the total. Adam, when we look at this one, the total's actually trickled up just a little bit here over the last 24 hours. I get it. Because if we know there's one way to pick on this Charger defense, it would be the run, which, by the way, with all the upgrades that they made in the offseason, they're still not great against the run. And I think a lot of people look at this and say, how could you ever bet an over when you have the Cleveland Browns? All they want to do is run the football. But if you run the football highly efficiently, it doesn't really matter, right? I mean, you're still going to score points. And if you're putting together 10 and 12-yard chunk plays every now and then you're gaining a lot of yardage and it's easier to score. So I get it. I also wonder about the spread being so short from a Charger standpoint. I think that the mindset and the image of this team is like, oh, they're so injured, they're so hurt. But this team's got a decent amount of depth, and certainly from the receiver position can still score points with Eckler out of the backfield and Williams and the tight end situation and all that. So I don't know. It's a curious game for me. Not a teaser leg, though, is teaserable from a Brown standpoint.
It is. And I think that the Browns teaser is the only thing that could get me interested in this game. However, this is an injury report game through and through for me, because you got to look at the Cleveland side and say that who is available on defense, especially. Is Myles Garrett going to be able to go this week? Is Jadeveon Clowney going to be able to go this week? Denzel Ward, JOK. You have half the defense, and especially the part that matters, on the injury report. So I'm not getting involved with that part. On the other side, you're right. I think there is a perception here with the Chargers that they're in bad shape, but I also realize that Justin Herbert could, be in a spot where he's one good solid hit to the ribs to not being on the field. So I'm not involved at this point. I think I could be involved on a Cleveland tease if we see that some of these defensive guys are ready to go. But as of now, it's a pass for me.
Steven, when we take a look at this thing, the only way I think I'd play this would be the total. I think if there was a flat 47, I would still play the over. I look at a Chargers offense that I think is going to be able to move the ball in this game. I mean, here's the deal. We came into the season thinking that maybe the Cleveland defense was going to be a little bit better. It has not been. It's actually been pretty bad. It's been one of the worst defenses in the league so far. I think kind of under the radar. It's been one of the worst in the league so far. And so we can talk about the offense all day long, which is fine. But the defense has been equally as bad as the offense has been good. And this Chargers team can still move the ball. They can still put up points, and they still give it up on the ground. I think this has like sneaky shootout potential kind of going on here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Justin Herbert torched this defense last year for 398 yards and 4 touchdowns, and we've seen that they have not been better early in the season this year, the Browns defense. So the Beat the Closing Line pod that records for us on Tuesdays liked Cleveland at +3 earlier in the week. So again, another reason to listen to our sister pod to get the best of a number. That 3 is gone. It dipped down to 2, and then we saw some pushback and some support for the Chargers. So I think we're settling in here around that 2.5. One of the big themes for me this week, guys, are teams that are stepping up in class after playing an easy schedule to start the year, and also stepping down in class after playing a really tough schedule through the first 4 games. The Browns are the former. I mean, no team has played an easier schedule through the first 4 weeks with the Panthers, the Jets, the Steelers, and the Falcons. So all the numbers that we have on them, we have to, I think, properly put in the right context based on the opponent that they've played.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that was kind of going to be the follow-up question to you here was, when we look at this Browns squad, like the offensive efficiency, and I understand they're all numbers that are adjusted by opponent and all that, but like it is very hard not to look at the fact that they played by far, not just the easiest schedule through the first 4 weeks, but by far the easiest schedule through the first 4 weeks.
For sure. I can give them a pass for the Jets loss. It was like a less than 5% chance that they should have lost that game with an onside kick. Fine. But in the Falcons game, they clearly were missing a lot of key defensive pieces in the front seven, which allowed the Falcons to move the ball with a weak offensive line more so than they would have. So I think, to Adam's point with the injury report, if you're going to back Cleveland in this game, you have to wait and make sure that those guys are coming back. There are like 4 key guys in the front seven. At least 3 of those guys got to get back and play in this game for me to want to, at this point, back them at less than a field goal. I mean, the only way I consider it at this point is if it's a field goal, but I don't think you're going to get it. So teaser would be the only way. And I just think, are we selling too low on Herbert now that we're less than a field goal, despite all of the rest of the injuries around him? Because I know Keenan Allen had a setback. Rashawn Slater, the left tackle, is out for the year. And we always assume that that's going to be a big drop-off, but the backup did really well last week. Jamari Sailor, 0 pressures allowed. He was the top-rated PFF player on the Chargers last week. He was phenomenal as the backup left tackle, albeit it's against the Texans. And if Myles Garrett plays, it's a totally different animal. But at least first career start, he did awesome. So you're getting Herbert versus Brissett, with Herbert against a defense that all signs point to was not very good against the easiest schedule in the NFL through the first 4 weeks, at less than a field goal. I'm on the fence, but man, I think this is a buy low spot maybe here for the Chargers.
It's a Chargers or pass for me if I'm playing the side. And I know that's, the unpopular side. Everybody wants to play the Browns here, but I'm with you. I think that I just think the perception of this team has gotten a little too skewed. Yes, there are key injuries, no doubt about it. But outside of the Jags, every team is injured. You're right. Everybody's missing somebody. And so I just think that we've swung the pendulum too far at this point on the Chargers. So yeah, if I was playing the side, it would certainly be the Chargers or pass.